The first two resolutions are specifically to do with the loan from Mercuria. The security for that is partly in warrants, which can only be exercised when in an event of default. Provided we don't default on the loan, they are not exercisable and nothing else can happen to them. However, because of the reduction in share price, the number of warrants does not provide security for the whole of their amount, and therefore we have to increase the number of warrants which are available to them. The second two resolutions are to cover the position where we have repaid the Mercuria loans, where other lenders may wish to have similar arrangements. And so in advance of actually completing these arrangements, we've decided to ask for the authorities on exactly the same basis that they would only be exercisable in the event of default on the loan, and we haven't even got the loan at the moment, so they're some way away, but we think it's useful to have that in position so that we can offer it to potential lenders rather than saying, well, we've got to go back to shareholders and get permission. So let us first look at resolution 1. That is to increase. We have an existing authority to have for £565,000 worth of shares in connection with the warrant instrument. We are increasing that up to a further amount of £1.75 million pounds worth of shares. I wouldn't like to try and calculate how many actual warrants that is. Is it expressed in the documentation, right? It is. Or not?
Well, the number of warrants will be, I think, equal to the number of.
We'd rather not.
Yes, nominal. It's a nominal value, that is.
It's, yes, so the nominal value we're talking about. If there are any questions on this resolution, I'm sure that Roy Tucker can answer them better than I can.
No questions?
No questions? In that case, I will put that resolution to the meeting, propose it as chairman, and ask for those in favour of the resolution. Is there anyone against? I declare that resolution carried. The second resolution is to allow any shares created under the warrants to be issued for cash consideration. It's precisely the same numbers. Are there any questions on that resolution?
So you're gonna be issuing new shares for cash? It's just purely for security.
If the warrants are exercised, if there's an event of default on Mercuria, and I may say at the moment that we're on very good terms with Mercuria,
There's no indication that there
no
is
indication that they're going to call an event of default. In fact, we're pretty confident that they're not. But nevertheless, we have to make this technical adjustment to their rights under their loan agreement. In that case, may I propose resolution 2 to allow the shares to be issued for cash consideration rather than for non-cash consideration? I'm proposing to the chair.
Yeah, but in effect, resolution 1 would be of no effect unless resolution 2 were passed as well.
Don't make things difficult, right? Now, ask for those in favour of that resolution. Anyone against? I declare the resolution carried. Now we get down to resolutions 3 and 4, which measure resolutions 1 and reflect resolutions 1 and 2 in the event that we have repaid Mercuria and we wish to offer similar security arrangements to the replacement lender. Are there any questions on those resolutions?
So is the loan that you're getting from the Swiss bank, if you get it, is that going to repay Mercuria?
Yes.
So okay.
And
then
we still don't know what security arrangements they will ask for.
They may or may not ask for this.
May not ask for a
Maybe
warrant
a pure asset backed loan, or it may not. So, but we want to have that there in the event.
Resolution 3 has no effect unless Mercuria are repaid in full, and therefore the Mercuria warrants are no longer in existence.
Yes. These two cannot be added together.
Okay.
The warrants that we can issue. 3 and 4 only come into effect when 1 and 2 are
Is the loan bigger than the money that?
No, it's to allow the.
Sorry, no. The question is: the new loan bigger than the existing loan?
No, is the new loan bigger than the amount we owe to Mercury?
Yes, of course.
Ah,
So
I'm
there'll be
sorry,
some-
I thought you were
there'll,
saying,
there'll be some spare cash floating about then.
Well, no, the cash is the replacement of the second tranche that we didn't get from Mercuria plus a little bit more. So yes, there'll be a lot of debt
yes.
lying around for the purpose of implementing the projects in Romania.
Yes, we've announced the new, the indicative term sheet was up to $10 million. And of course, the
We
Mercuria
owe
contract is 4 million plus
plus
accrued interest.
So
So,
yes,
so it will give us money for Baita.
it's effectively replacing the whole of the Mercuria loan, but the Mercuria loan, the second tranche was not drawn down.
I don't know whether I had a list of questions today. It all disappeared out of my filing system.
Well, that's good news.
I didn't. Did you have it?
No.
Did you have it?
I'll check. I haven't checked.
Oh. We weren't given it last time we were here then.
I think it's on the website. We can download it.
What, his question and answer session?
No, these questions here. Are we meant to have a copy of that?
No, I think what normally happens, Andrew,
Oh,
he
you mean
he
the
normally has
notice
the
of the meeting?
resolutions in front of him, he normally has it printed off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he normally has.
Oh, okay.
And he's doing it bottom with it.
Okay.
That's what he normally does.
I'm very worried.
Well, you can't have mine, because otherwise I won't have one. I'm sorry about that.
That's all right.
We'll get it for you later after the meeting.
No, that's all right.
May we, I don't particularly wish to read resolution 3, then I've given you the gist of it.
Do you want to copy the resolutions?
Okay.
No.
It's all right, Roy.
It's all right, Roy. Thank you. Thank you very much.
May I propose resolution 3 from the chair of
I second it.
I gather these days we don't need a seconder, you
No.
just need a proposer and we need voting, so may I please have those in favour and those against? I declare the resolution carried. Resolution 4 is to allow these shares which do not exist at the moment, warrants which don't exist, but which may be issued in connection with the security arrangements to be issued for cash consideration. Propose that resolution from the chair. I ask those in favour. Good to see you getting your top voted in good time. I declare that resolution carried. That completes the formal business of the meeting, and I think we can throw the meeting open for general questions for a short time, but I'm sorry to say that we have to reconvene a board meeting in 10 or 15 minutes. So, any general questions, or would you prefer to...
I mean, could you clarify the debt financing and the offtake agreements? Because there's a few people that are like not very clear about what is an offtaker and what's
Okay. Offtake is purely a contract that buys on a certain rate your production. So that can be negotiated with a fee based on a benchmark for tolling, which is established every year, normally at the LME, for the year moving forward. And then there are discounts or penalties that are applied to those particular products, whether it's copper, lead or zinc. That's an offtake agreement. It's a commitment to sell to one particular company with favourable terms for the seller or the buyer, depending on the negotiation. And that is one particular contract that is basically establishing who your client for your materials are. That's an offtake agreement. Funding is actually a debt facility that will provide you the capital to implement your projects. Historically, what we had with Mercuria was an offtake agreement with prepayment finance, which was a debt facility that locked them in for up to 5 years for buying our material exclusively, and then providing us with a debt facility. So at the moment, what we are doing is we are saying that we are now separating the two for various reasons. Mercuria have indicated they want to continue with the offtake agreement, but without the financing structure. So we're now going to other debt providers for the debt facility, and there's the potential for Mercuria to continue to be our buyer of our material. So offtake is one matter, debt facility or finance is a second. They're not necessarily interrelated. Historically, they have been, but now the market has changed, and quite often now a lot of the trade finance buyers, such as the Mercurias of this world and the other traders, are now stepping away from doing the prepayment finance and leaving it to the banks and institutions to do the lending, which is the way it was historically. So off-takers or prepayment traders are no longer financiers, they are purely buyers of material. So that's the difference between the two. So
Okay.
they're not necessarily interrelated.
Can we still keep Mercuria and lock them in for next 5 years?
We can.
Since it's their fault for walking away for the second tranche,
You don't wanna
in my view.
It's very simple. We could continue with Mercuria
Yep.
if we wish to do so. If they've already indicated they wish to do so, depending on who the financier is. If it's a pure debt, such as the Swiss bank, then Mercuria will continue, or could very well continue to be our buyer of our materials.
Okay, but they'll have the freedom to walk away if you change.
I mean, at the
If you
moment-
lock them in, then they will stay. But if you
No, I think you misunderstand.
okay, sorry, maybe.
At the moment, there is a long-term contract that we are locked into and they are locked into if they were to provide us with the finance. If they don't provide us with the finance, then we can either continue with them or go to another trader. In the spirit of the agreement that we've reached, there is the opportunity for them to continue on the offtake. But I think people are misunderstanding the ability to find an off-taker. Off-takers are very, very easy to find. If there's no debt facility attached, there are at least 10 traders that would buy our materials tomorrow. It's just a matter of terms, and there's plus minus 5% between the price you've achieved between them all.
Okay.
At the moment, we've got a pretty good deal with Mercuria, and we may very well consider continue to work with them. At the moment, we've got a good
Do you have
relationship.
any other off-takers in line? I mean, I know you said they're easy to find, but do you have someone else that's interested in
definitely.
buying copper?
We've had off-takers, we've always had off-takers, and we still have off-takers. We're still fairly large companies that are interested in buying the materials coming out of Romania.
Okay.
We do have offers on the table, yes.
And then the 10 million would be sufficient to start Baita and maybe look into Manila, or is that just for
No,
BP and
if the 10 million would cover the amount outstanding to Mercuria and to start Baita,
okay,
and Manaila is a completely different
different
project
ballgame.
that's being, anyway, the market will be updated on Manaila shortly.
Okay.
That's what it is. Correct?
Yes, but our focus is on Baita.
On Baita,
Baita.
because there's near-term positive cash flow.
On the other hand, we do see Manaila as a valuable asset in the longer term. We think it's got a big net present value, and we do intend to pursue it. We don't intend to give it away or anything of that kind. We do think
Okay.
it's a valuable asset, yes. On the other hand, we need to put some cash, we need to put more capex into it to realise that.
Yes, Richard.
What are our products that we sell?
Well, we've got, depending on which country. At the moment, we are a polymetallic producer, or we will be again soon, in Romania, which has copper, lead, and zinc.
Oh, Romania and Zimbabwe, that's you, is it?
Sorry?
You're in Romania and Zimbabwe?
Correct.
Yeah, I remember. And you're looking for copper, lead and zinc?
No, we have copper, lead, and zinc, and gold and silver.
Well, I heard this morning that there's a surplus of copper and the price isn't too good.
Well, I mean, there's no, the stockpiles historically have said that, but quite often there's a larger demand for copper than there is supply. So what's on paper and what's in physical are two completely different things. So you'll find that there's a minor correction. This happened back in 2016 when copper dropped down to 4,300 on a very similar room and then jumped back up to 7,000. So it's been sitting steady around, anywhere between 5.9 and 6.5. And I believe it will continue the same because the demand for copper is increasing as EVs come into play, not to mention the fact that the whole of Europe needs an upgrade of its electrical systems.
7,000 a tonne, is it?
It was at one stage, now it's down at 5.9, I think.
The gentleman in the back.
I realise that the focus of today's meetings have been on financing for Romania. May I ask a question about Zimbabwe?
Yes, of course.
The diamonds are still requiring a signature or some signatures on some contracts.
Correct.
Has there been any reason since you talked to us a month or so ago to feel that there's been a slowdown or a roadblock?
Could we in particular not record this part of the conversation? It's
Okay.
sensitive with the government.
Right.
The finance from the offtake agreement allows us to get potentially better terms for the funding and better terms for the concentrate. That's essentially by separating. You're no longer beholden to one party or the other. This allows us to choose which partner we want for buying our material, and allows us to negotiate better terms on the finance aspect as well.
And two larger pools to choose from.
And two larger pools. You're not restricted. So the market has changed. The market, because the commodity prices are sensitive, you've seen zinc drop, you've seen coppers drop, the different direction of individual companies such as the Mercurians and the other traders of this world, their priorities have changed. And now it allows us, and we're quite fortunate in the fact that we do produce such a vast portfolio of commodities such as lead and zinc and copper and gold and silver. We can now basically, when one goes up, the other one goes down, so we're actually quite well hedged in that respect. So, and now that interest rates are lower, it gives us the opportunity to borrow at a better rate as well. So it's actually, all of this has actually worked out for the benefit of the company, in my opinion. And their times are their times. We are, say, trying to accelerate the process by virtue of things that will be disclosed shortly. However, the Swiss bank is not necessarily our only option, but it's our preferred option. So we are continuing to investigate. We'd never want to be in the position we were in the past, beholden to one party. So we are exploring various options for the funding, but we're not saying that our preferred option is to continue with the Swiss bank. We also have to make sure that we get Baita into production as fast as possible and turn it into a positive cash flow for the business.
So you need the debt facility to start production, but if you don't get the debt facility, then
We have other,
you need some cash to kind of run operations.
no, we have other options for debt. Some of them are slightly more expensive, different terms, different securities, but however, we do have options available to us. But we're looking now, the company is no longer looking at short-term fix, we're now looking at long-term investment, long-term facilities, long-term expansion of the company. So we're now taking a completely different approach. We have a management team that is dedicated to making sure that this company survives long-term and is long-term profitable. So no more short-term fixes.
Which is the most valuable to us, Romania or Zimbabwe?
I mean, that's very difficult to ascertain. I mean,
Roughly speaking.
well, I mean, in dollar terms, of course, the diamonds is extremely valuable and has the potential to be, something that, is telephone numbers.
American dollars.
Sorry?
Yes.
American dollars.
Yes. Romania has a different profile. It also has a lot more opportunity with other mines within Romania that we've got. So they're both valuable, and they're both valuable to the company, and they both have extremely fantastic potential. So I can't answer that. I think they're equally as important to the company. Any more questions?
Is it more realistic to start up Romania first, or is more realistic in timeline?
Not necessarily.
Since we're raising the finance for that.
Not necessarily. I mean, we're quite advanced on finance for all the projects. So, they could open at the same time, as far as we're concerned.
When the licenses are all signed in Zim, we would wish to proceed as rapidly as possible.
Well, we must do. We must, and they are very similar timelines to restart.
It can be much quicker to start up the diamonds projects.
No, not at all. No, the diamonds can be just as quick as
No, they're
those.
both.
They're
Both same. What sort of timelines are we talking about? 4 months? What?
For both.
So by the end of the year, basically, we can have some.
Well, if the license was granted today, or the final signatures were granted today in Zimbabwe, that would also be operational before the end of the year. Same. They're very similar timelines to restart.
How deep are you going down for your diamonds in Zimbabwe?
Well, they're alluvial, so they're anywhere between 5 and 25 metres.
Oh, that's quite serious, isn't it? So the shallowest thing is 15 foot.
Something like that. Some of them are at the surface.
25 metres is well over 15 foot.
Yes.
Yeah. Someone on the surface.
Mhm.
Oh, that's good.
So how can you prevent looters? People just going in and picking
By
up.
fencing. I mean, part of
Yep.
mining and diamonds in Zimbabwe, and it's something that as a public company we have to be very, very mindful of, is sticking to the Kimberley process. Part of the Kimberley process, and one of the most expensive and longest lead items to starting the diamonds, is actually putting in the proper fencing and security and adhering to all the Kimberley Pact requirements. So that's how you stop any theft.
Okay.
And the
But
way
apart from anything else, they may injure themselves, and it's your responsibility.
That's right,
If
which
they
we don't
get
want.
into the workings,
which we don't want to.
deep holes, 25 metres, you fall down that, doesn't do you any good.
Well, they actually can only really get down about 15 before the rocks start to get too big to lift. So so that's how we prevent it, by fencing and security.
So nothing else in Zimbabwe, just diamonds.
At the moment, yes. We are now focusing.
Yep.
The company is
You've
now
read-
no longer going and casting a big net and trying to do too many things at once. We'll focus on various projects. We'll get those into operation, make those operationally profitable, move on to the next project.
Very good move, yes.
You will have read the problems that gold miners are having in Zimbabwe with lack of dollars and therefore restricting their operations, which is one of the many reasons why we decided to divest ourselves of fixed and fearless. But those problems should not affect us, I think, as a diamond producer. Is that right, Andrew?
That's correct. We have the ability to apply for the special economic zone, which means you can collect your dollars outside of Zimbabwe. So therefore, as long as you're visible to the government and pay your taxes and your royalties and your distributions, you're free to use your dollars as you wish. Whereas with gold, you have to sell the gold to Fidelity. At the moment, only $55 out of 100 is being paid in foreign currency, and the other $45 in RTGS.
Have you
So
built a
therefore,
school
you
yet
can't
for that?
pay for your salaries and your reagents and your cyanide and your contractors, so which makes it difficult on the gold side. I'm sure that will change in time, but for the moment, we are focused on things where we can collect dollars.
Have you built a school yet for little children in the village?
Not yet, but it's on the agenda, and we've also put some money towards putting kids through school. That was done on a private basis. Not
Good,
government.
good.
Have you purchased any equipment for diamond?
Sorry,
Have you purchased any equipment?
it's not public information.
Are you in a position to purchase it if the contract is signed tomorrow?
Yes. Anything further?
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
We've had
It's your voice.
half
Your
an
words.
hour, about 20 minutes, so I'm sorry to say that I must declare the meeting formally closed. Thank you for your attendance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have to go back and
We
finish our
have
board
to
meeting.
finish what we're doing.
Excellent.